what if the now you feel is just a convenient hallucination? What if time doesn't flow at you all, and Einstein proved it by chasing a single absurd image, riding alongside a beam of light? Picture it. You're in a perfect rocket. No engine noise, no wind, no reference points, just you and a blade of light in front of you, like a glowing arrow. Your instincts scream, if I go fast enough, I'll catch it. I'll match it. I'll see it frozen. And that sounds reasonable, because your brain was built to throw rocks, not to negotiate with the speed of light. But the moment you try to catch light, reality gets cornered. Because if you could move alongside it, you'd expect the wave to just hang there, suspended, like a still photo, a frozen ripple, a motionless flash. And that's the problem. A frozen light wave would be a contradiction. It's like asking for a standing explosion, like demanding a song with no sound. The universe doesn't allow that state to exist. So Einstein did something terrifying. He didn't patch the paradox with a comforting story. He treated it like a crime scene. If light refuses to slow down for you, if it always moves at the same speed, no matter how fast you chase, it then something else has to bend. Not as an optical illusion, not as a trick of measurement. Bend in the literal, physical sense. And that something else is the thing you trusted most. Time? Your private internal metronome. The invisible conveyor belt you assume everyone shares. The idea that the present is a global layer spread across the universe like a blanket. That belief is the first casualty, because once light is constant, the universe has only one escape route. It must rewrite what distance means, and rewrite what a second means depending on motion. The faster you move, the more your reality has to warp just to keep light, obeying the rule it refuses to break. This is why the beam of light isn't just a beam. It's a scalpel. It slices open your intuition and shows you what's underneath. So here's the question that should make you uncomfortable. If light won't change, what exactly is changing when you think time is passing? Hold that thought, because the next step is where the present starts to crumble. If this is already messing with your head, do something quick for me. Pause for 1 second and ask yourself what that second even was. Not how it felt, but what it meant. Because this video only works if you don't watch it like entertainment. You have watch it like a test of your own reality. So I want you to comment one of these right now. Pick the one that hits you hardest. Light doesn't care where it is now. Time is the thing that bends your comment, tells me you're actually following the idea, not just letting the words wash over you. And it helps this reach the people who need their intuition shattered. Also, if you want the next twist, you're going to need to stay with me, because we're about to cross the line where common sense stops helping. So hit like if you want more videos that explain physics in a way that feels almost personal, and subscribe, because if you miss the next part, you'll miss the moment Einstein's beam of light turns into something even more disturbing. The discovery that two people can disagree on what now means, and both be right. All right, ready. Because the next step is the paradox your brain will try to reject first. Your intuition keeps sabotaging you here, and it's not your fault. Every instinct you have about motion was trained in a slow, forgiving universe. You throw a ball, it flies, you run after it, it slows relative to you. Speed stacks. Motion adds up. This works for cars, planes, even rockets. So naturally, your brain files light into the same category. A thing that moves really fast, just a bullet with better marketing. But that assumption is the trap, because the moment you treat light like a projectile, you expect a simple rule. Chase it fast enough, and it should slow down relative to you. This is how every other object in your life behaves. If you sprint after a bike, it looks slower. If you accelerate toward a sound, its frequency shifts. Reality, as you experience it, rewards pursuit. Light refuses. No matter how fast you move walking, flying, orbiting Earth, or tearing through space at 99.999%. The speed of light, the beam ahead of you still pulls away at exactly the same speed, not approximately. Exactly. This isn't a limitation of engines or instruments. It's a property of the universe itself. And this is where the discomfort starts to creep in. Because if light doesn't slow down for you, then speed is no longer something everyone agrees on. Two observers moving differently don't just interpret motion differently, they inhabit different versions of duration and distance. This is the moment where physics quietly stops being about objects and starts being about perspective. Here's the first narrative twist. Your brain resists. Light is not moving through time the way you are. It doesn't experience aging. From light's point of view, if that phrase even makes sense, no, time passes between emission and absorption. A photon leaves a star millions of years ago and arrives in your eye without aging at all. Zero internal time. That alone should feel disturbing. And now notice what that implies. If light doesn't age, and you do, then time isn't a universal river carrying everything equally. It's more like a private account charged differently, depending on how you move. You don't just travel in time, you negotiate with it. This is why Einstein's thought experiment wasn't cute or philosophical. It was surgical. By forcing himself to imagine chasing light, he exposed a hidden rule. The universe protects the speed of light at all costs, even if that means sacrificing your most trusted beliefs about simultaneity, duration, and motion. And this leads to the next uncomfortable step, because if light behaves this way, then something even more personal has to give. The idea that everyone shares the same clock. Now we reach the point where classical reality quietly collapses. Because once you accept that light never slows down for anyone, a forbidden question appears, one your intuition desperately wants to avoid. What happens if you almost catch up to light? Not fully, just close enough that common sense should still work. Imagine accelerating forever, closer and closer to light speed. At first, everything behaves as expected. Distances ahead seem shorter. Clocks behind you tick strangely. But then something bizarre happens. No matter how much more energy you pour into motion, the beam in front of you never changes its behavior. It doesn't wobble, it doesn't smear, it doesn't hesitate. It remains perfectly light-like. Your brain wants an escape hatch here. It wants to say, fine, maybe light almost stops. Or maybe it appears slower. But Einstein saw the problem clearly. Even almost frozen light would still be frozen somewhere. And that state cannot exist. A stationary electromagnetic wave isn't just unlikely, it's forbidden by the structure of reality itself. So the universe makes a ruthless choice. Instead of allowing light to break its rule, it sacrifices something else entirely. Simultaneity. Events you think are happening at the same time simply aren't, depending on how you're moving. Two observers racing past each other can look at the same pair of flashes and disagree on which came first. Not because one is confused, not because of signal delay, but because the concept of at the same time has split into multiple versions. This is the moment when now stops being universal. And here's the twist most people miss. This isn't a visual illusion or a measurement trick. Nothing is wrong with clocks or rulers. Time itself, the universe reshuffles cause and effect just enough to protect light speed. That's the price it demands. Think about how unsettling that is. You don't just live in time, you carry your own version of it. Your motion through space sculpts the flow of moments you experience. Reality adapts to you, not the other way around. And once you accept that, another question becomes unavoidable. If observers don't share the same present, then what exactly is the present made of? Hold on to that thought, because the next step is where Einstein turns this paradox into a rule. And that rule turns into something deeply personal. Here is the deal. The universe makes behind your back a bargain so counterintuitive that your intuition actively resists it. Light keeps its speed. Always. No exceptions. And in exchange, time agrees to become flexible. Not metaphorically, physically, measurably, relentlessly. Once this clicks, everything you thought you understood about motion changes. Moving faster through space doesn't just change where you are, it changes how long things take for you. Clocks don't tick slower because they malfunction. They tick slower because that's what time itself is doing along your path. The universe stretches seconds like elastic to preserve the one rule it refuses to break. And this is where it stops being abstract. Because this bargain doesn't only apply to astronauts or particles. It applies to you right now. You are always moving around Earth, around the sun, around the galaxy, and every one of those motions slightly alters how fast your personal time flows compared to someone else's. The differences are tiny at human speeds, but they are real. GPS satellites literally wouldn't work without correcting for this distortion. Your phone navigates reality using relativistic time. Here's the twist most people don't see coming. You are not traveling through time at a fixed rate. You are dividing your motion between space and time. Spend more on one, and you automatically get less of the other. This isn't philosophy, it's geometry. Space and time are fused into a single structure, and motion is how you carve your path through it. This is why Einstein's beam of light matters so much. It exposed a hidden accounting system in the universe. Nothing gets a free ride. If you push toward light speed, time has to compress to keep the books balanced. From the outside, you slow down. From the inside, nothing feels wrong. And that's the most unsettling part. You never notice your own time changing, which raises a dangerous question. If time can stretch and shrink without your awareness, how much of what you call normal reality is just a special case? A slow-motion illusion you mistake for the truth. Because once time can bend for motion, it can bend for something else too. And that's where Einstein's idea stops being about speed and starts being about gravity. At this point, you might think the damage is contained. Fine motion bends, time. Light forces the universe into strange compromises. Weird, but manageable. Then Einstein took the same logic and applied it to gravity. And that's when reality stopped behaving like a stage and started behaving like a participant. Because gravity, in Einstein's view, isn't a pool. It isn't an invisible force reaching across space. It's a distortion of the same space-time fabric that light already exposed as flexible. Mass and energy don't just sit in the universe, they tell the universe how to curve. And that curvature tells everything else how to move. Here's the unsettling part. If space is curved, time cannot remain uniform. Niach, massive. Objects, time slows down. Not symbolically, literally. A clock closer to Earth's surface ticks more slowly than one in orbit. This has been measured, confirmed, and built into modern technology. Your GPS signal has to correct for gravitational time dilation, or your location would drift kilometers every day. This is the narrative twist people miss. Gravity is not only pulling you downward, it's dragging you into a slower version of time. The deeper you sit in a gravitational well, the more your future stretches out compared to someone higher up. Two people standing at different heights on the same planet do not live in the same temporal reality. And now connect this back to the beam of light. Light doesn't slow down near gravity either. Instead, space curves, so the light's path bends. Time slows, so the light's speed remains sacred. Once again, the universe sacrifices your intuitions to protect its rule. This is where space and time stop being passive coordinates and start acting. Almost alive. They respond. They deform. They carry memory of mass and energy. The universe is no longer a container, it's a dynamic system reacting to what's inside it, which leads to a deeply uncomfortable realization. If gravity alters time and time alters experience, then reality itself depends on where you are. Your now is shaped by mass, by planets, by stars, by black holes. And that opens the door to the most disturbing implication of Albacos. If space and time respond to matter, what role does the observer really play? By now, one comforting idea should feel dangerously unstable. The idea that there is a single, shared present, a universal now that slices cleanly across the universe, the same for everyone, everywhere. Einstein's beam of light quietly destroys that idea, and once it's gone, reality feels very different. Here's why. If time changes with motion and time changes with gravity, then simultaneity, the notion that two events happen at the same time, can no longer be absolute. It can't survive. Two observers moving differently or standing in different gravitational fields will disagree about what is happening right now. And the disturbing part is this: neither of them is wrong. Imagine two flashes of light far apart in space. To you, they occur simultaneously. To another observer, moving relative to you, one flash clearly happens before the other. This isn't about delayed signals or limited perception. Even after correcting for every delay, the disagreement remains. The universe itself refuses to pick a winner. This is the moment where the present collapses into a personal construct. Your now is real to you, but it is not universal. Someone else's now cuts through spacetime at a different angle. The idea of a single cosmic clock evaporates, replaced by countless private timelines stitched together by light. And notice what that implies. The past, present, and future are no longer neatly stacked categories. Events, you consider. Future may already exist in another observer's present. What you call already happened may still be unfolding somewhere else in spacetime. The universe starts to resemble a four-dimensional block, where time is not flowing, but laid out. This is where physics quietly brushes against philosophy. If the present is not fundamental, then what exactly is moving when you feel time passing? Is the flow of time a property of the universe, or a property of consciousness navigating a static structure? Einstein himself leaned toward a deeply unsettling answer. To him, the distinction between past, present, and future was a stubbornly persistent illusion. Not meaningless, but not built into reality either. The beam of light didn't just expose a rule of motion. It exposed a limit of human intuition. And this sets up the final tension of the story. Because if reality doesn't privilege the present, if spacetime simply exists as a whole, then what does that mean for choice, causality, and destiny? Before we take that last step, tell me what feels more disturbing. There is no universal now, or the future already exists. At this point, the beam of light has done its quiet damage. Time bends, space reacts, the present fractures, and what's left is a question most people instinctively avoid because it feels less like physics and more like a threat. If past, present, and future all coexist then what exactly is changing? In Einstein's view, the universe doesn't constantly update itself. It doesn't become moment by moment. Instead, spacetime exists as a complete structura, four-dimensional block where every event has a fixed location. Your birth, this sentence, and moments far ahead in what you call the future are all equally real within that structure. The sense of flow doesn't belong to the universe. It belongs to you. This is where the discomfort peaks. Because if time isn't fundamentally moving, then causality starts to feel different. Choices still matter, but not because they carve the future out of nothing. They matter because they are part of the structure itself. You don't stand outside spacetime deciding what will exist. You are a pattern inside it, unfolding along a path that already fits into the whole. And yet, subjectively, nothing feels predetermined. You still deliberate. You still hesitate. You still change your mind. The paradox is that both experiences coexist from inside. Life feels open. From outside, space-time looks complete. Einstein accepted this tension. He didn't try to dissolve it with comforting language. He allowed reality to remain strange. Here's the final twist people rarely consider. If the universe is a block, then your consciousness isn't dragged along by timid scanning it. The feeling of now may be the result of awareness moving through a static landscape, like a spotlight revealing one slice at a time. Not because the slices appear, but because your mind encounters them sequentially. And suddenly, the beam of light comes back into focus. Light doesn't age. It doesn't experience duration. In a sense, it already inhabits the entire path at once. And you, bound by mass and memory, experience the same universe different. Like because reality is different, but because you are. So the question that lingers isn't whether Einstein destroyed free will or proved destiny. It's this. If reality doesn't privilege the present, then what does it mean to exist as a conscious observer inside it? Sit with that thought for a moment. If you made it all the way here, you're the kind of person this channel is for, because most people tap out the moment now stops feeling safe. So here's what I want you to do before you click away. First, subscribe. Not because it helps the channel, but because if this idea grabbed you, the next videos will take it even further. Light, time, gravity, reality, and the parts of physics that feel almost personal. Second, hit like if even one moment in this video made you stop and think, wait, that can't be right. That reaction is the whole point. That's your intuition updating. And finally, comment one phrase so I know you stayed until the end. Type nitrogen monoxide universal. Now, if the collapse of the present hit you hardest, or type time is a map. If the block universe idea is the thing you can't stop thinking about. Now, don't just leave with a mind-blown feeling, keep the momentum. Click the next video on your screen because it connects directly to this. What happens when Einstein's reality collides with the quantum question of whether the universe needs an observer at all?